Good afternoon and welcome to the 4 p.m. panel. Hasn't the day flown? Not quite so funny the second time. Fluffed up the recording. Anyhow, so the romance and women's fiction, and I shall leave my two ladies to introduce themselves, starting alphabetically with Kerry.
Hello. Well, my name is Kerry Manning, and don't worry about me. I'm just in the southern hemisphere, so if I look a lot hotter and less dressed than everyone else, that is because I'm on holiday in South Africa with my mother. But I live in the west of Ireland, and I write contemporary romantic fiction with a moral, a message, something like that. I don't know how to explain it exactly. And all my books are set, all the books I've written so far are set in a little village on the west coast of Ireland. And this has been my dream for as long as I can imagine. And coming to South Africa, I've already sold nearly 40 books since I've been here, which is so exciting. So I'm an international author.
As your editor, we will talk about editing later. I could say if you'd had Rose out by now, you might have sold 80 books. Have two.
There is no doubt, and I have
Yeah.
my mom is 89 and she's absolutely marvelous.
Oh,
And she is on board to take delivery of the print copies and to be my distributor in April.
excellent. Well done. And then book three, I understand, is coming to me in the next few days.
More like a week, probably.
Okay, that's fine.
I probably won't have really good internet until uh, next weekend, and then we have. I shall tell you the funny story about book three
Yeah.
and Morgan's absolutely fabulous naming editing job that she does when it's my chance. But let's let Patricia have a say before I talk too much.
Right, I'm Patricia. My writing name is Patricia M Osborne, and I have 8 novels now. And although some are historical fiction, they all sort of cross over with women's fiction and romance. And I'm actually working on a time travel romance. I've published one, and book two is nearly done. And I'm also working on a historical romance.
Thank you. Welcome Claire, Debs, Sue and Suzanne to the chat. My first question really is kind of the whole reason for this festival. I live in Aylesbury and I top up. We have about 30 book swap libraries. I used to call them cupboards. I don't know why cupboards stuck in my brain, but book swap libraries around Aylesbury and the villages surrounding. And every time I hear of a new one, I add it to the list. So we have about 30 and I look after a dozen or so. And I always say that I have them set up the same so that what I call men's fiction is on the left-hand side, women's fiction is on the right-hand side, and then the bottom shelf is children's on the left and non-fiction on the right. But then I counter myself by saying, well, it's not really fair to say that crime thrillers are men's fiction and romance and the likes of women's fiction, because I think more women read crime than perhaps men do. I think maybe more, whether I'm being overgeneralized, I don't know your experiences, whether more women read than men do. Because back in the day, we had the likes of J.K. Rowling, who used her initials rather than her name of Joanne, because she thought that boys, because Harry Potter was aimed at boys, would read a book about boy wizards by a female writer. Whether do you know of have you had mixed, and I don't mean mixed reviews as in good or bad, but but emails or feedback from men who have read your books and loved them?
I'm full of funny stories, Morgan. Because this was my first time going out, I don't have a lovely book background, but I do have a lovely book.
Yeah.
My paperback went live before my ebook. just because I got myself into a bit of a tizz. And unbeknownst to me, my own brother had bought it. And I kind of felt a little bit naked while he read it. And I didn't believe he was reading it until he accused me of calling the baddie Sean after his son. I said, it certainly wasn't after your son, but we'll get into the naming thing later as well.
Yeah.
And then last week, I did a reading in the retirement village where my mom lives. And there were men at the reading, and they were keen to read the book. So my book is very, very female focused. But yes, apparently there might be.
But it's interesting. What did your brother think of it? Because friends and family, we kind of think they're going to be. I mean, my mother was my biggest critic, because she didn't get my books. So although she was very delighted that I was an author, she said before I had anything published, she said, "Oh, please get something published so I can tell people you're a published author," which is lovely.
sounds a bit like my mom.
Oh, really? But yeah, I think friends and family, they kind of can up to a point tell you what you think you want to. Oh, yes, that was a lovely book, dear. Or was
yes. He didn't say very much. He just said that he enjoyed it. But his wife came back to me with more in-depth feedback. Apparently, they read it at the same time. I'm not quite sure. Maybe one in the evening, one in the morning. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he didn't give me a huge amount of feedback. But I was genuinely surprised. There was a gentleman sitting there, and he said, "No, he'd like to read it." I'm like, okay, whatever.
Right.
I've actually had quite a few men actually that have bought my book, actually bought signed copies, and always want to have the next copy of whatever's come out. And I've had emails and whatever, like I thought they were buying it for their wives, but they've read it themselves first and love it. So yeah, I write for women primarily, but
Yeah.
men do enjoy it, yeah, which is good.
Do you find, Tricia, that because you write three eras, don't you, of 1895, 1950s, and the now to 1910, whether your audience varies? I mean, in theory,
No.
1950 is still historical. So
Yeah.
whether it'd be an over a generalization to say everybody enjoys all of the books, because you're never going to know necessarily if someone's read them all unless they tell you.
Yeah. On the whole, I mean, certainly I've got people that queue up and wait for the next book, and it doesn't matter what I write.
Okay.
I have some people sometimes say, "Oh, I didn't like that as much as this one,"
Right.
or "This is my favorite." And I have to say that my debut novel seems to come out the favorite,
Really?
House of Grace, that people seem to like that best. I think that's because as a lot of people that can associate, especially an older woman, they can remember going out to dances in the 50s and things like that, and they can relate to it. So people like to relate to it. And then people of my age, when I did Woodhurst Triangle, which is the 1970s love story wrapped in family drama, people love it because they're taken back to the 70s when we were teenagers, and they're kind of like, oh yes, so they really like that one best. So
I suppose there's a not really a fine line, but obviously you go back too far, then people will have a certain idea of the era, whereas with the more modern books, if it's something that they've experienced, there's more joy in that. And I don't know whether when you were writing it, whether you found more familiarity with something that you'd experienced firsthand.
I don't know really, because when I've written in the 50s, I took experience from my mum and from my auntie once my mum wasn't here. And for the oath, which I went back to 1895, I think it is. I'd actually been a writer in residence at a local Victorian park and researched the family, and I based it kind of inspired by that. So I just with research, I think you can just still become somebody. And I write in first person, so when I write, I'm actually step into that character and I can feel them close. And
Right.
if they cry, I'll cry. If they laugh, I'll laugh.
Right. Are all your books first person?
All my books are first person because I found it a better way where I can be closer, so I
Yeah.
can actually become. Very few of my poems might be third person,
Mm.
but even poetry, even when I want to become a tree or a bird, I like to be first. I like to
Yeah.
become.
I write third person, but I must say that it's amazing how you start to, do the characters inhabit you or do you inhabit the characters? Because they start to do their own thing and they 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 become alive, and
Yeah,
it's so exciting. I mean, I'm very uh imaginative, writing a children's book at the moment as well, but they do come alive and they start to make their own business. They decide what they're doing and what they're going to say and whatever, you know.
they do come alive. And actually, I think what's really lovely is when other people talk to you about your characters
Exactly,
as though they're real,
exactly.
as though they are real people, because they do become real people.
Because my books are, the first one is called Learning to Love Lucy, and the second one is called Rose Has a Right to Happiness. And just for Morgan's information, as my editor, the third one is called A Man for Mora.
Nice.
And it's so funny because
Alliteration.
people refer to my books as I loved Lucy. They've almost become that each book has is
Yeah.
named for the character, and it's like Lucy this and Lucy that, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that's the joy of actually being a writer when you've got readers that become your fans
Mm.
Yeah.
and they want to talk about your characters as much as you do, sort of thing. And actually, my editor sometimes knows my characters better than me because sometimes I might say something and she'll say, "Oh, Grace wouldn't say that," or "No, Rachel wouldn't say that," or "Sarah, she," and I say sometimes she knows my characters better than me.
Do you find, Trisha, that you have to adapt writing in the different eras that you write in? Do you find, because obviously back in the day there were social conformities and that things have changed. We would like to think for the better for women,
Yeah.
over certainly since 1895. Um,
Mm.
whether you find it, I wouldn't say more relatable, but um, almost you have to hold yourself back from the early writing because you want to, yeah, have a strong woman, but there were certain events within the book that you couldn't make her as feisty as
Uh,
you
I
wanted her
th
to be, or
I think all of my women are strong. All of them,
good.
yes, because that's the
Nothing
way
wrong with
I
that.
see it. That actually, I want to show a woman as a strong woman,
Mm.
no matter what. I mean, even when like Grace was only sort of 16, she knew her own mind, and she was brought up very background with not allowed to be doing anything, but actually she held her own and stood up against her father, who was a lord, and yeah, and Francoise in the Oath. I mean, she managed to leave her husband, so
Right.
yeah.
Because there's nothing more annoying than, especially a film set now, is where you have the man in the lead and then the woman following behind, and there are all sorts of things that she could pick up and defend herself with, or lead the attack. And yet I don't like to generalize, because especially because there'll be American viewers watching this, but I think the thing, what I find about a lot of English films is that um, they rely less on the whiz bangs, the effects, and it's more about the person. And so I love it when you see a character who can stand up for herself.
Yeah.
And in Learning to Love Lucy, that's exactly it.
Yeah,
Does
mine
goes on the
is
same.
definitely more the character arc
Mm.
of woman, perhaps not starting from the strongest point,
No.
but finishing there.
But she's had a tough time, hasn't she?
Yeah, but in all sorts of ways, we all have a tough time, and for me, it's about overcoming.
Yes.
And I suppose that's my own personal lived experience, that I've had a tough time and I've overcome, and I want to, in different ways, because all of the characters are completely different, I want to impart that onto them. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's what your characters have to, don't they? You have to give them obstacles to overcome, because it's
exactly
to actually make it interesting. So they've got to go through things to get over there, to come through.
See, in Kerry, in your first book, you then brought Rose in as the main character in the second book.
Yes.
Patricia, have you done this with any of your books?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Yeah, House of Grace was just one narrator, and then the coal miner's son take over George, her son, and her sister, who you didn't really know anything much about in House of Grace. So they came together, and then in book 3, The Granville Legacy, it was Grace was back as a narrator, and George as a man. So yeah, I think it's kind of quite good. What I've actually started doing now, though, is quoting a lot of my characters in my later books from the early books.
Right.
So like House of Grace, the design house. So actually, in 2024, there's shops around called House of Grace.
I love that.
And in the Woodhurst Triangle, it's about a writer, and Rachel Webster, and she appears in The Girl in the Ticket Office Window, but she doesn't actually appear, but she's mentioned. And a group I invented in Woodhurst trilogy, Dark Chaos, well, they appear in The Girl in the Ticket Office Window.
Oh, I like that.
It's quite good. I like it. It's kind of, they all knit together somehow.
I went to a talk on writing romantasy, which is not what I do, but I'm a very curious-minded person, so I'll listen to anything. And it was so interesting, because obviously romantasy is a much longer book, and it's a different thing, and it's very, very series based. And this woman who was presenting, she said almost the whole of the first book is building the world.
Right.
And even though you never saw the very first drafts of Lucy, but the world wasn't built properly.
Okay.
And I went back to put more of that world in, and now, I mean, that little village, Inverbridge, it comes alive in my head. I can see everything. Because that world, it may not be as important as in romantasy when you're building fantasy worlds with towers made out of air and all this kind of stuff like that. But it's still important to have that world.
Absolutely, especially somewhere like Ireland, because they do go off to real places, and so you want, because you'll have readers these days when everything's online, you'll have readers from around the globe. And this is what I thought as a British writer, because all my books are set in England, and some of them are set in real places that I know very well. And I thought that would have a real appeal to people who live outside or inside of the UK, because they're getting to know somewhere they're not familiar with. And I still don't think you can have, from previous conversation, Kerry, you can have too much tea and cake.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm sitting here in 30-degree heat sipping tea because my husband knows when I'm on a Zoom I need tea.
Okay.
But it's a cultural thing, because somebody in South Africa complained that there was too much tea and cake in my book. I don't know how that could ever happen, because there could never be too much tea and cake in the world. But yes, you've just reminded me, because when I was writing my books, I come from a marketing background, so I had all these mad ideas running around my head, and somehow some of them have got lost in the ether. And one of the things I really wanted to do was to promote my books in conjunction with the Wild Atlantic Way, which is the tourism route up the west coast of Ireland. So I've just reminded myself of that in my little book. And I have also reminded myself that when I get back to Ireland, I will send you some books for your Aylesbury libraries.
Oh, thank you. That'd be great. That'd be great. Yes, I was talking earlier on, if you missed it, about I top up the local book swap libraries around the Aylesbury area. And it gave me a sense of, and they're so popular. The idea is you give a book, you take a book, but there are always, apart from one or two exceptions, there are invariably fewer books when I go there than when I left. But they are so popular, and when I post the before and after pictures so people can see how popular they are, everybody's lovely. And if I run low on books, I just put a shout out and people give me loads of books to put in. And it's wonderful. And so I got the sense that there is a really good reading community around Aylesbury. So the one of these in April will be in person in Aylesbury. And it's just lovely. I think there was the concern when Kindle came in, when ebooks came in, that it would kill the paperback. But it seems to have almost, I know of people who've read the Kindle, enjoyed it, and gone out and bought the paperback because they want the physical. And so many people have said, "Oh, but it's the smell, it's the feel of I've got to have, the actual book."
Yeah,
it may be that
will always be there, the real books as well. I love my Kindle, but I also love real books. But like when you're traveling, you can put so many books on your Kindle. You can't carry all those books.
Exactly.
And bedtime as well. I like my Kindle because I can have the light off and just read my Kindle, and if I fall asleep, it doesn't matter. Whereas if you're reading from a real book, plus it's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times have we done this and fallen asleep? I do it with my iPhone, to be fair.
And broken my glasses.
Have you?
But I think it's an indication of the fact that my background is marketing, and traditional marketing, not digital marketing, because I'm quite old. And I have sold
similar age.
Sorry, Claire. We'll have to catch up.
Yeah.
But I've sold significantly more print books than I have Kindle books. But I think it's partly because I don't know a huge amount about digital marketing. I'm learning. Every day I'm learning. And like I said, this holiday was very, very important to me. So, family first. Family first.
Well, you've sold 40 books out there already.
Yes, somebody said to me, "Are you on a book tour?" And I said, "No, not exactly." I said, "I'm actually just having a holiday and visiting my mother, but the books are incidental."
Well, it's funny you should talk about marketing. I could run a whole festival on marketing, but this one up here was the one that Waterstones in Northampton. It's set all around Northampton, and Waterstones wanted it. At the time, it was traditionally published. The publisher were really good and said, we'll drop the price. But because you've got the publisher, then Gardner's the distributor, and then Waterstones want 40, it's either 45 or 55%. And so they couldn't get it to the price that Waterstones wanted. And Waterstones wouldn't deal with me because I'm not an approved supplier. So I couldn't get into, they wanted the book. I wanted the book to be there. Even if I gave them the book, they couldn't take it because I wasn't an approved supplier. Supplier. But my marketing, and I'm not really up on marketing either, when it comes to my own stuff. I don't think we're necessarily the biggest champion, although we love what we do, and why wouldn't we? But we're not necessarily naturally born sales people. So it is really hard. But I did come up with this idea. I've set this first book all around Northampton. Let's set the second book somewhere else so that I can market it in Northamptonshire when I lived there. I can then market it in the second. And my idea was to have a different one. So I was going to kill people. It was going to be the first one, the serial dater, then the serial dieter. Then I was going to have the serial killer, which is going to have a good friend who's a crime writer. She's Morgen, Alison Morgan. And so when we did a couple of workshops together, and we were the Morgen and Morgan show. So that was fun. and she's going to be my consultant for killing people off in Bedford. But then I thought you can market the different books in different places. So I wonder, Kerry, whether you're tempted to write a book set in Africa.
I am tempted. I've got one that's kind of, and it's a 1970s kind of a longer timeline that I've been playing with, and that there. I have also written one that's based in London as well, London and New York, and that's a lot of fantasy written during COVID time with a lot of research. But just to give a shout out to a friend of mine, I don't think she's on the call, but her name is Kimberly Adams, and she's a fabulous, fabulous. We call ourselves the Special Case, and she's a fabulous self-published author, and she writes about, I think it's Northumberland.
Okay.
And she has been so successful with her offline sales, finding other venues to sell other than bookshops.
Right.
So she sold in tourism shops, she sold in garden centers, all that kind of stuff. So I think sometimes we just have to think out the box.
Yes, I've done. Sorry, Patricia. I've done so a Christmas fair in a garden centre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tricia, sorry. Hello.
I actually tend to market more for digital, the Kindle, because actually I don't like selling my books too much money, so the paperback. So I basically don't really get anything out of them at all.
Right.
And obviously I'm not in it for money anyway, but I need to make sure that I have enough money to keep being able to do the covers and to have promotion features. So I love BookBub. I think it's absolutely.
I'm looking at BookBub at the moment. I couldn't do anything while I was on holiday. So
It's absolutely brilliant.
So it's BookBub.
It's so much better than spending ages and ages on Twitter or X, what you want to call it, and Facebook ads, which because actually it's a lot of money and it's a gamble, but so far so good. It's paid off. So.
Well, I do Amazon ads, and but you have to keep nurturing them. Look at your reports and see what which keywords work. But I've sold a dog detective. I always do this that one from a chat because it tells you the page that it was found on, and so why it appeared on a lawnmower instruction manual page. I have no clue. But somebody was looking for lawnmower instruction manuals, and because there's no lawnmower in it, and bought my dog detective. So, of course, I wouldn't use anything like that as a keyword. But you do have to time. Marketing is just time. I was recently, until literally yesterday, in Facebook sin bin because I'm in about 653, I think at last count, Facebook book related groups. And so I was copying and pasting. I thought 3 an hour was about the limit. And then I posted again and it came up as you've posted too often. And you don't know, they don't tell you how long you're in the sin bin. So it's in the days leading up to this festival. Yeah. So I was then banned from posting in anything but my profile or groups that I'm admin for. And so I got nothing from it. I was doing it for about 2 weeks every day and didn't get one like, one comment, one tracked.
And all that work that's taken you away from actually writing as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing. No. And so it was just copy and paste, put the picture up. That's fine. But no, I've done that a few times and nothing. But Donna Morfitt, who I'd like to say hosted, but I did butt in too often this morning. Sorry, Donna, for the crime panel this morning. And I've just taken her on to do book tour, amongst other things. She's going to be doing all my marketing for me, to do blog tours.
Yeah.
And I find that the best way of finding people, apart from anything else. So I pay, it's anywhere depending on how long you want them to run for. So she will, and book tour organisers will they'll know the bloggers, they'll send your digital book, their bloggers will then, it'll go in a queue, but then read it, and you have this tour, like a proper book tour, but online for whatever 3, 5, 7 days. And then and then on that particular day, particular blogger, a particular day, will then post their review. And the great thing about that is, people go there for reviews, so and they respect those bloggers, but also it gives you quotes. So and so said such and such about my book, and that adds kudos to it. And it's not a lot of money if you find a genuine blog tourer. So I'm recommending her because I want her to quit her day job and do marketing full time and be in the writing fraternity full time, because it's what she loves. She may enjoy her job, but if you watch her TikTok channel, then you'll know she has good days and bad days.
I don't go on TikTok. I tried.
Did you?
I tried, but every time I would add somebody as a friend, and the next thing it would disappear.
Oh.
I have asked my granddaughter, my 14-year-old granddaughter, to show me, because she's on it all the time, and she knows that, oh, there's a video, and I'm like, oh, you can do TikTok. Can you show Nana? Oh yes, but I'm waiting.
Yeah. I think it has become a younger generation. It's a bit like Snapchat. I think it's because Facebook is now for people our age, older.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram is sort of somewhere in between. I am on Instagram. I don't do a huge amount on Instagram, but I am on there. I joined TikTok in August 2024, posted a video for the author spotlights, which you're both welcome to do. I think, Tricia, you're booked in, I think, or mentioned you're going to be booked in for a spotlight.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I think I had 21 authors at the time. And so I did a video of promoting the spotlights. And then about 2 weeks ago, I put on my second video. So in a year and a half.
But it doesn't work that way.
Now. So, but I have the second video I put up in literally about 3 days. I had 200 and something views, which was astounding. And I've got I don't know how I did it, 1,000 followers. And it looks like I'm very, very selective as to who I follow, because I follow about 4 people. But it's only because I followed a few back in August 2024. I hadn't done anything with it.
Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't let me follow. I think it's because I was trying to do it on the PC. Okay. And I'm hopeless doing things on my phone, because it's too small, the buttons and everything. And I like the PC.
I think it all comes down to knowing your market, because as Morgan said, if you know where your market is, you can put the money there and you can market there. And if my books, there have been young people that have read them, but they're not really targeted at the TikTok generation. So I haven't put any energy into TikTok yet.
Right.
I found young people like my books, but so do older people. So that's really quite good.
I think
that's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful.
I think the sad reality is that you have to be everywhere all the time.
I'm just looking at the time, and I have to tell you my editing story. Can I tell you my editing story?
Yes, do.
Okay.
Yes. Will I want book 3?
Yes, yes, you will. So I procrastinated after writing book 1 5 years ago for a long time before I finally bit the bullet and got an editor. And I got Morgan as my editor, and she's absolutely marvelous. This is not an advertising promotion or anything. It just is what it is. And one of the things that she did for me, which was fantastic, was she made a spreadsheet of all the characters and the places in my books. And it was hugely helpful. And it's something that I learned as a wannabe writer. It was very, very helpful in everything. Anyway, as I've said, I write for the West of Ireland. So the characters I've named for book 3 are Mora and Pada. So Pada is Peter in Irish, and the West of Ireland is quite strong in the Gaeltacht and with the Irish language and everything. So I wanted to bring that in. And although I did spell Mora in the English way, you wouldn't spell it like that in the Irish way. Anyway, so I was very, very happy with this book. And at the time, I was a member of the Romantic Novelists Association, and I submitted the book for the conference. And I got a feedback from an editor at a publishing house, and she was delighted. She thought the book was absolutely wonderful. But she spent the entire meeting calling my male character Peter.
Oh,
because it's spelled Peader.
yeah.
And I walked out of that meeting with blushes coming from here up. And by the time you see the book, he'll be Peter.
Okay.
But it's so important to have that second set of eyes, because I can speak a bit of Irish, and I'm so familiar with the Irish language and the pronunciations of everything. It never crossed my mind that somebody would pronounce that phonetically.
Yes.
And this is why, this is just one teeny tiny story, but it's why it's so important to have that second set of eyes on your book as an indie author.
Because also it's not necessarily how it looks on the page, because the whole point of doing the character table, all it is A to Z down the left hand side, female first name, female surname, male first name, male surname, and places and things. So you don't have, ideally, no more than 2 of the first starting letter as a first name, surname, and so on and so forth. So you can see easily on one sheet if you've gone too many of the first thing, of the first letter, but also how it sounds, because one would like to think you're going to have all your books done as audiobooks.
Eventually.
So my initial thought of having not too many names ending in "a." So you've got Moira and Peter. I mean, Peter is technically Peter. But I have edited books before where 4 of the names all end in the same letter. So they're going to sound very similar as an audiobook. And
also as people are reading it, because people, I mean, we don't read aloud. Well, some people do, but generally speaking, you don't read aloud, but you still have a voice in your head as you're reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do similar to that, Morgan, but I don't use Excel. I have a Word document because I struggle with Excel, to be quite honest. But and also because writing trilogies and things, it's knowing, remembering what colour eyes they've got.
Yes.
Remembering when their birthday was, what colour hair they've got. So now, as soon as I've got a character, they've got a date of birth. And then they've got the age that they start, in the first book, and all about them and their favourite things and things like that. And I learned that the hard way, really, because when I wrote House of Grace, I didn't think I'd be writing a second book. So it was only suddenly I found I could just write novels, whereas I didn't think I could ever write a novel. So.
The first thing I do when I get a book in is I catalogue all the chapter lengths. Kerry will know this. Catalogue the chapter lengths, and so I put in how many words the longest chapters, and I say I recommend no more than 2,000 words. I mean, if it's slightly over 2,000, that's fine. So say you've got 6 pages or 8 pages at 3,000, then I say everything 5 pages, because also it depends on how you space it, 5 pages and over, have a look at splitting them. And then as I'm going through, what I tend to do is listen to it first on the Kindle. Every sweep I listen to it on my Kindle, but then I'll hear certain things. So if I hear a name or see a name in capital, because they stand out in capitals, then I'll catalogue, and it is a Word document. It's a separate Word document, and then I have a main notes document where I do the I've just noticed that you such and such, so the notes that go back to the author at the beginning, and then a full timeline. So each chapter will have a summary of what happens in the chapter, and then a list of all the characters. So as you say, if you've got blue eyes, long hair, and in a novel I did recently, there were 4 characters with grey hair. 3 of them had women have their hair tied back. So I said, well, that would become noticeable. So for me, I say I edit for the 100th reader. So 99 readers won't notice that you've got 5 characters with grey hair, 3 of whom are tied back.
There'll be one that will.
But there will be one who will. And you don't want anything that brings you out of the story.
No.
And then I do, if it's set in a particular era, I will then have an ages table. I don't know if you've needed this, Kerry, where I've got the years down. So if somebody was born in 1952, I then work out that in 1982 they would have been 30, so that if I come across an age, I can double check that that is,
Yeah.
and then all that goes back to the author for them to have fun with.
Yeah.
Just feedback as well for anybody listening, and for you, Morgan, yourself. I've had the most fantastic feedback about the way my chapters are shorter than they were when I started. Everyone says I absolutely love the short chapters, except for the same lady who didn't like the tea and cake.
Okay, that they were too short.
No, she said they were too short, but she doesn't like tea and cake either, so it's okay.
I quite like short chapters, mainly because it's, if you want to have a quick chapter in between doing a job,
this is what I've got the feedback
try and read
yeah.
it. But if it's a long chapter, and I need white space as well, so that's why I write fairly short chapters, and I use a lot of white space, because it's to just see a load of text on the page. It kind of like makes me.
It's been very interesting. Like I said, this is my debut, although I've written nearly 5 books now. This is my debut, so it's the first time I'm out there putting myself out in this vulnerable position as an author. And it's very interesting to take the feedback on board. And some of it, like, I'm really not going to let the tea and cake bother me.
No.
But it's just about, almost filtering the feedback and saying, okay, I love that they love this, and I did, and it's just an interesting part of the journey that I hadn't kind of banked on.
Right.
And I love getting reviews. Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful.
I think if one person says something, you go, okay, thanks. If 50 people say, well, I'm not so sure about this bit, then that is something to look at. But regarding chapters, I think I don't want to be unfair to people and say that these days we have shorter attention spans. But I think we have such busy lives that we have shorter gaps of time. And if you know you can read a chapter while you're having a cup of coffee in between doing other things, that's great. What I normally do, and I'm pretty sure I would have said this to Kerry, that James Patterson and Martina Cole at one point where the Wordstroke are the most stolen from bookshops, most borrowed from libraries, and I think stolen from libraries as well. Tut tut. And but James Patterson, on average, he's slightly shorter than the average 80,000-ish, so 75,000 words, and he has on average 140 chapters per book. So less than 500, and he swaps from the detective to the villain to the detective to the, it's been a long time since I've read any of his, but I just go, James Patterson has 140 chapters. We've got less than that.
I feel like I'm the panel police, Morgan, but I'm just telling you it's
it is
1644.
That's okay. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm the police.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine, because we need a few minutes to download the thing. So yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Kerry, lovely to see you.
Thank you so much. And if anybody's got questions or anything, Morgan's got my details. Just send them through, because I know there's a lot of people I was there where they are now, and I just want to help people the way people help me.
Thank you. Well, I did come up with the idea. It was either I think it was the second panel where I thought, actually, I don't want to just do quarterly events. And the April one I'll take photos, but it's an in-person event. So there won't be anything other than photo, maybe the odd bit of video, but it's not, certainly the whole panels won't be recorded. And so what I thought of doing, because I do the spotlights, and on everybody's page, they'll have the YouTube embedded. But I think anytime anybody has a new book out, then we'll do a video like this, one-on-one about them and their new book. And Patricia, with your books, and Kerry with your first, and certainly when Rose comes out, that we could do a chat about you and your books, because the spotlights initially are your journey through writing. So the first thing you wrote, if you can remember, invariably it's at school, right up to what you're planning. So you would be your third and fourth books. And that is YouTube. And the idea was that we do that one and then follow-ups with an audience. But I think I'd like to do that as part of the festival. So we have continuous new content that helps the festival, because it's all about promoting the self-published author. And what's better than saying they have a new book out? So that's my plan.
Wonderful.
Is to do a spotlight, your journey so far, and then smaller spotlights thereafter for new books.
Lovely.
All right.
Well, that's brilliant. Count me in.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Thank you both of you. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Morgen.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you,
No problem.
Kerry.
And you.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.